This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by Productivity Authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game Changers Experience with myself, Adam Strong. And today we have the amazing Chris Telesford. Chris is a GB Taekwondo champion. Now, listen to this. He fights, able-bodied people, even though he's actually registered blind, and he wins. He's a business owner and also a tech entrepreneur. He's been featured on the world of in the World of Martial Arts magazine, and in that magazine asked him a little bit about what his achievements, what his vision is, and what his future entails, and things like that. So I just want to welcome Chris to the show. Chris, how are you today?
Hi, how you doing? I'm well, thank you. Very well. So a little bit stressed because of COVID, because we can't train as much, but apart from that, all is good at my side.
Hey, listen, everything's COVID, right? Okay, so no traveling, COVID, training, COVID, everything's COVID, but we don't talk about COVID. This is not the COVID show, Chris. This is the Chris Telesford show, okay? Well, actually, it's not the Chris Telesford show, it's the Game Changers Experience, but hey-ho. But listen, super excited about you being on here. I know that we've had a lot of Paralympians actually on the show, and really interesting listening to aspects from not just athletes and Paralympians, but it's just a great opportunity, I think. And and I think that a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested to know about your story, because you were registered blind when you were born, weren't you? You were born with a condition. Maybe you could tell us about that, but more importantly, what were your struggles as a kid, and how did you overcome them? Because I think, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've been wearing glasses since the age of 8, right? Which is a long time. And some people would say, well, Adam, you're practically blind. Well, I'm not. Without my glasses, I feel completely blind and completely helpless. But when you're registered blind, I mean, you must gone through so many struggles as a kid and growing up and things like that. I mean, I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, especially in the area of East London, it wasn't easy at all. Definitely not. It was exceptionally dangerous. You see, I had a very, very good group of friends, small, but very good, who always said, you may not be able to see very well, but you're no different than anybody else. Disability means nothing at all. And they kind of helped me and motivated me to be able to, go out there, get what I want, fight for what I want if I have to. And I think that made growing up a lot easier. I think without them, it would have been a struggle, and I don't think I would have been where I am today without their support.
Well, it's always good to associate yourself with people that lift you up and energize you and feel like you're, I suppose, invincible in a way, even though you're not invincible and that kind of stuff. But what was it like, I suppose, growing up? And, I mean, did you walk around like a conventional blind person with a cane and hit people with it? And I don't know, tell us about that.
Well, growing up as somebody who's registered blind, so all these different institutes, whether it's school, the Royal National Society for the Blind, they all wanted me to use a cane growing up. Mm-hmm. However, because I started doing martial arts when I was 3 years old, the only thing I saw a cane useful for was a weapon. So, I didn't want to get into any trouble, so I refused to carry one. Yeah, even in my bag, I just wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, I had the odd accident, tripping up curbs, especially at night time, because my sight was far worse back then. So I walked into lamp posts, but when it was pitch black, I had the advantage because my eyes are light sensitive. So in the pitch black, I could see somebody, couldn't recognize them, but I could see them from 100 feet away in the pitch black, whereas nobody else could. So in that respect, I had a bit of an advantage against other people. Mm. But I didn't really get bullied. because of my sight impairments. As I said, I was very lucky at that time, very lucky. So realistically, I don't feel that it affected me too much growing up in that respect. Later on in life, yes, mid-teens and upwards.
Mm. Did what were the struggles when it came to, I suppose, especially when you go through your teenage years of going through your changes and trying to understand you as a person, and kind of reality, I suppose, sets in a way, doesn't it?
It does. And at that time, it's not so much about how I would do things, as we see. It's more of a case of how I wanted people to interpret me. So when they said, well, how can you do this when you're registered blind? Not really knowing how to explain it to somebody who had no visual impairment or disability. Yeah, I think that is the hardest struggle, especially when you start going to college and then, your first year in university. It's not easy at all. So you have to try and find ways you can relate to other people in order for them to try and understand.
Yeah, I completely understand. Did you ever struggle to fit in? Did you ever feel like you struggled to try and fit in with society? And was there any, I suppose, I mean, in a way, we talk about, especially with the younger society today and the pressure of social media and society and how we think, what other people see us and stuff like that. Did you ever go through those struggles, especially being partially blind and stuff?
Oh, no, definitely not. Again, the reason for that goes back to the people I grew up with and who helped me, some friends, mostly friends, family. Had they have not been there, then I feel I wouldn't have had the coping mechanisms to be able to integrate into society with any kind of group of people doing anything.
Fantastic. Very good. Now, you got into Taekwondo at a pretty young age. I'm pretty fascinated to know, why did you get into Taekwondo, considering that you were registered blind? I find that kind of very uncomfortable even talking about it.
Well, back then, I was born in 1980. So I started when I was 3 years old, and I grew up in East London in a place called Canning Town. Now, you grow up knowing only 3 things: how to earn, how to knit cars, and how to fight.
Okay.
Those are the 3 things you grew up knowing in Canning Town at those times. And where my parents used to do martial arts themselves, mother used to do kickboxing, father used to do karate. I kind of felt it in me to do something. And around the corner from me, where I grew up, was a Taekwondo center. So I went there as a youngster at 3 years old, and I loved it. I just carried on doing it. And I had sight issues, obviously, but we always found a way around it. So as a white belt going into a new class, you'd be right at the back and expected to follow the people at the front. But my thing was, so I was told, that I couldn't see the instructor very well. And the people in front of me would be yellow belts, so they'd be getting it wrong. So what I'd have to do is, after we've done the warm-ups and so forth, I have to go, the instructor has to have a one-on-one with me or a senior grade and show me, for example, how to do a turning kick, how to do a front kick and so forth, how to do a proper punch. And that's, because of the engagement and interaction I had at an early age, it kept me motivated to keep on training.
Fantastic.
And after a while, it just became addictive.
So I suppose your parents were a bit of an influence when it came to martial arts and fighting and things like that, because they did it themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was already in the genes. And you may have heard of a lady called Molly Samuels. I think back in the 90s, she used to be world karate champion. Well, she's also my cousin as well. So martial arts is really in the genes. Parents didn't really go into many competitions as far as I'm aware. Apart from Molly Samuels, I am the only other person in the family that's actually gone out and achieved something when it comes to sports.
Very cool. Very good. I wanted to ask you, Sant, because when you talked about, I was reading a little bit about you, and you talked a little bit about when one of your first fights, which you lost, and you were really kind of, I suppose, not paralyzed by fear, but you had a lot of fear, I suppose, getting onto the mat for the first time. And facing an opponent for the first time. I mean, what was that feeling like? And, you know, because you've got someone that basically wants to kick your ass, and and you're practically registered blind. Even I just like, even the thought about it, watching yourself, does it make you feel helpless? I mean, I'd love to explore that.
Yeah, no problem at all. It doesn't make me feel helpless. It motivates me more. It motivates me more. I mean, one thing you may not know is from a very early age, I've always been a West Ham supporter. And
oh no. Oh, we got the wrong guest on here, people. Sorry, listeners. For you, for the listeners that are over in Asia, we don't know who West Ham United are, by the way. Sorry.
And I'll come on to a bit more later on, but I was brought up by some very naughty people who I'll speak to you about later on. But there was a motto with the West Ham lot, and it's that you never run, you always stand your ground, always. Yeah. So even if you lose, in the day, you have to look at it in a way that they're not going to kill you. Yeah. They're going to do what they want, have a row, and then they're going to go. And it's the same in the ring. In the ring, when you step in that ring, you know that all that's going to happen is, yes, okay, worst case scenario, you might get knocked out or a couple of broken bones, but you'll live to fight another day.
Sure.
And and if I lose, then I can guarantee you that I'll keep my weight and I'll whatever level I need to, just so that I can find that opponent again and fight him. And because I'll know his style, the way he kicks, the speed he kicks, and the power he uses, I'll be able to use that to my advantage.
So it's like you're mirroring your opponent in a way, right?
Not so much mirroring him. If I lose, then what I'm actually doing is, while I'm fighting, I'm studying every single movement he makes. So I'm trying to see what distance he is from me. I'm trying to analyze his leg length, his reach, like his arm reach as well.
Mm-hmm.
If he's somebody who likes going for more head shots or body shots, so that I know if he's in a slightly longer stance, then he's going to try and do some sort of back kick, whether it's a normal back kick or spinning back kick or a hook kick. So I'll know for next time, that's the stance, that's what he's going to do. So, because unfortunately my eyes can't read it as fast as anybody else's can.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, you had a lot of success in Taekwondo, and we mentioned at the very beginning of today that you basically, you're a Taekwondo champion that are able to essentially being able to beat able-bodied people. That's people without disabilities. I mean, how does that work? Because it's a bit like, it kind of reminds me, I'll tell you what it reminds me of, Chris, right? You remember the Karate Kid, and everyone knows the Karate Kid, right? So remember when in the film, The Karate Kid, the movie, The Karate Kid, and what he does is he loses his sight, and they put I think it was like a bandana or something across his eyes and whatever it is. And he had to use his senses or intuition in order to beat his opponent. Would you say that is a true likeness of similar to, I guess, how you beat your opponents? Or would you say that is kind of a little bit exaggerated and there's more to it?
I think it's half a truth. Yeah, I think it's half a truth because, okay, so let's look at it like this, just so the listeners can kind of get it. If you imagine driving at night time in central London, so really well lit with sunglasses on. Yeah. Now, you're going to be able to see around you, but because you're wearing sunglasses and it's only lit by shop lights and street lamps, your reaction time is going to be slower. So I think that's the best way to do it. So when I'm sparring with somebody, it's a case of I need to be able to kind of feel that something's going to happen. So almost predict it in a way.
Right.
So yes, wearing a bandana around your eyes, yes, you can feel when something's not right. Even in the pitch black, you can feel when someone's close to you. So you kind of just have to predict what it is, how you're going to deal with it.
Makes sense. I was going to ask you, actually, when it comes to using your intuition, how important is using your intuition when it comes to business? Because I mean, you've been running a business for quite a number of years. you've got some different ventures, and we'll talk about those ventures in a bit. But how important is using your intuition and things like that in business? How has it helped you in your business?
Well, for me, it's critical using your intuition. Without intuition, to be honest, it's hard to run a business, especially with visual impairment as well. Because if I had no intuition, just a visual impairment, a lot of people would either take advantage, or they wouldn't do business with me. So you basically have to use your intuition in everything you do. So for me, it's critical.
It's a good point, actually. And I think that it's one of those skills that I feel that not enough entrepreneurs and business owners use in terms of intuition, like kind of using that gut instinct. I'm a real big believer. We teach a lot of clients this, is that, and especially with you listeners right now, is that don't think with your head, because too many people think logically. Some people think with their heart, but actually what you really need to think about is thinking, what is it that it feels? If it feels right, then think about where it comes from, is the gut instinct. I'm a real big believer. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up, which is really interesting. What lessons did you learn from Taekwondo in terms of your success in your Taekwondo career as such? How did you bring those skills over to becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur?
If you had asked me this question 7 to 8 years ago, I would have said that it brought a lot of negotiation skills and so forth. But now I've been in business for a long time. The main thing I've realized that it's brought me from Taekwondo into business is patience.
Love it.
Lots of pure, unadulterated patience. Because yes, I did also bring over negotiation skills, people management as well, because obviously having to train people. But no, one thing I've always learned from Taekwondo is patience. And in business, you must have patience, because different people work differently to the way you do.
Yeah.
Organizations aren't all structured the same. So you have to be willing to wait, or if you need their business, go as fast as they want you to go. So in order to deal with any kind of business you're going into, you must have patience. I think that's one of the most important things.
It's interesting we brought up patience, because one of my, I suppose, role models, mentors, whatever you want to call him, Gary Vaynerchuk, talks about the importance of patience. And it's all about kind of waiting for the right moment at the right time. And you mentioned it again, which is really interesting. What would you say to our listeners for the people that which maybe aren't so patient as such? And what is it that you'd say in terms of convincing them otherwise, why patience is so important in running a business? And maybe you have experienced something along that lines.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I would say, if you're struggling to have patience in business, then take some time out, take a week out. And I normally don't do endorsements of anything, but read or listen to a book called Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It's a book I live by. It will give you the teachings on why patience is so important, how you can use patience to your advantage, and a lot more. If you're not the kind of reading person, then you want to be able to start doing things like just taking out 5 minutes just to relax, meditate if need be. But finding patience is critical if you want to succeed in any kind of business, because nobody is going to do business with somebody who's impatient.
Interesting. You mentioned about Sun Tzu, which is the book that I've actually read, and it's not an easy book to read, is it? You have to read it probably about 10 times before you really get the knack of it. Do you know what I mean? It's a really, even though it's only, I don't know, it's only a really small book. I think it's only about 100 pages long, or maybe less.
Pages.
But what did you talked about the importance of patience, but is there anything that you learned from that book specifically that you had brought into the business world or the entrepreneurial world that you thought, those little key points that I think would be really good for some of our listeners? Is there anything that you can share with us?
From that book, it's mostly about how the generals would deal with, because obviously, as you know, Sun Tzu is about, it's basically a Chinese book. So it's about how they have patience before they, the way they form their strategies and so forth. It's a bit hard, as you understand, it's a bit hard to explain exactly how that translates to business, but when you actually get the theory behind the book itself, it makes sense. As I said, it's not an easy book to read, and it's even harder to explain, especially in English.
I absolutely agree. But even so, it is a very highly intellectual book. And guys, if you haven't read it, I'd highly recommend you definitely go out and get that. It's a great book to read. What I was going to say to you is you developed, a sports tech app, haven't you, for people with disabilities? Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what is the aim for it?
Yep, no problem at all. Okay, so prior to creating this technology, I always had a problem with reading printed material. Yeah, it was just very, very difficult for me. Right. So before this company, I created technology which we should be using your phone or tablet, which reads printed material to you, just by speaking to it. Plus, you can actually browse the internet just by using your voice. Brilliant bit of technology. But then I left the company in September 2017 to start up a new company with my business partner, who coincidentally is Grandmaster Patrice Remarque, the world's #1 Taekwondo coach. Yeah, it comes in handy. He's the only person I don't argue with. So we called the company, it will translate to Fusion Tech. Now, the idea of this app is it's very similar to the way other sports apps work, like Peloton and so forth, but without all the hardware. So what we do is all of our instructors are either Olympic athletes or Olympic coaches or high performance coaches and instructors. And we do one-on-one training in real time, so live, group live classes, and also we will have pre-recorded content as well. But unlike everybody else, we have a particular set of USPs, such as voice control. For example, we give anyone the freedom to be able to use it by voice because you may have a person with a disability. You may be an amputee, so you may not be able to tap the screen, or you may have a wheelchair user who can't keep on going backwards and forwards to the screen to tap it and so forth. So we wanted to make it very diversified, so anyone can use it. We have things like multi-angled viewing and a lot more USPs, which I can't really speak about at the moment, but we have huge. I mean, we have so many that, as far as we're aware, Apple actually took 2 of our USPs quite recently and launched it on September 15th. But the idea of it is to empower people to be able to get fit, healthy, and train with best of the best at a cost which is considerably lower than anything else.
Sure. Is it like a subscription model?
Yes, apologies. Yeah, it is a subscription model. Yeah. So when we actually launch it, which should be mid next year, then you'll have 2 different subscription models. You'll be able to book live classes with whatever instructors or athlete you want from all over the world. And you don't need to have any hardware either. You can just use your TV, your tablet, your laptop, your phone, whatever you wish.
I was just going to say, so what you're saying is basically it's a training app for disabled athletes or sports people that want to become fit or healthy, or just disabled people in general, but then you embedding certain technologies, which is, for voice activation, or if people can't touch the screen or whatever it might be. So it kind of takes into consideration and it breaks down. That's a great app. It sounds like a fantastic app there you got there, Chris.
Oh, thank you. And the best thing about it is, we are aiming for the market for disabilities, but in reality, it can be used by anybody.
Very good. And what can our listeners do to help you at all in terms of, because I know that you're not launching that till next year, but is there anything that you'd like our listeners to do in terms of a call to action?
Call to action, a couple of things really. If they'd like to, well, I mean, we're always, obviously, like any startup company, we're always looking for investments. So if you're interested, then that's not a problem at all. But in addition to that, I mean, the disability market is in the UK alone, it's a £107 billion market. Wow. Which nobody's exploiting really. So, I mean, one of the other things I do is I work with a company called Kaleidoscope, or the Kaleidoscope Group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing company, that specialize with investments for people with disabilities, advisory services, in recruitment services, specialist headhunters for those with disabilities. So what I would say is take a look at them. If you have any job openings, then think about hiring somebody with a disability, because people with disabilities have lots of benefits. I mean, not mentioning the C word at the moment, which the whole world's going through, but people with disabilities are used to being confined. They're used to being segregated. Yes. So remote working is nothing for a person with disability.
No.
So automatically you're saving money on travel expenses, insurance, and so forth.
Absolutely. And, people with disabilities are just, they're just normal human beings. And just because they've, some people may see someone as a disability as a malfunction, they're just normal human beings. They really are, guys. And I remember I've worked with many disabled people, Chris, and through my university degree and things like that. And, it gives you a deep sense of satisfaction, but more importantly, it helps you to reflect on what you have in your own life and what other people that are not so fortunate in the world. But yeah, so just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today and sharing some great points and some great tips. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. I hope that if you haven't already done so, make sure that if you're listening to this on Apple, okay, please do me a favor and please leave a 1 or a 5-star review, whichever you feel is more worthy of this podcast on that. Or alternatively, if you're listening to this on Android, please go to Podchaser, that's podchaser.com, and go on there and leave your reviews on there. I would really greatly appreciate that. One of my big goals is to get to 100 reviews by the end of the year. We've got a little way to go, guys. But if you've enjoyed today's and any of the other episodes, then please leave your reviews. I would really greatly appreciate it. Listen, have a fantastic day, week, month, whenever you're listening to this. And from me and Chris, have a fantastic day. See you soon. Have a good one. Take care. Hey, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for listening in to this episode of the Game Changers Experience. I hope that you got some amazing value, some great insights, and golden nuggets that you can implement into your business straight away. I would really, really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star review on the button below. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.